What is going on, chill investors? I'm so excited to bring to you guys. In the description down below is the link to join our community for free. All right, so go ahead, click down below, join that community, and then you will be able to talk with me, talk within the community, go through the strategy, understand what we're doing, and pick up on all those gains. All right, so what I wanted to jump into was our indicators. Okay, so we have a few indicators here that we use, and I wanted to go over exactly how we use them and where the strategy kind of comes into play. All right, so for example, we have Rocket Lab here sitting in front of us, and what I first wanted to go over was putting the indicators on your chart. Okay, so that's gonna be step one. All right, so if we go ahead on TradingView and just open up a new layout, okay, this is on their downloadable version of TradingView on the computer, not the web version, but it's very similar. Just go ahead and open up a new layout. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and remove the volume, okay? Alrighty, and I use these candles. I don't use regular candles. I use the Heikin candles. And the way we're setting this up, it is going to be for daily time frame and weekly time frame. Okay. If we go down to settings, I just want to make sure everyone has their settings all set up correctly. Alrighty, so what we have here is real pricing. Okay. Unclick, click, unclick, click. Set it to whatever you want your neutral color to be. Okay, because we're going to use red, green, yellow, and kind of orangish. So this gray area is why I chose gray, is it's a gray area. Is going to tell you kind of where the neutral zone is. It's not quite, a buy. It's not super undervalued and it's not super overvalued. We're kind of right here in the middle. All right. So make sure it's the wicks and the body for both boxes. And then let's go to our status line. I don't think any of that matters. All right. Symbol. I have just name value, value according to scale. Hidden. This is just for pre-market and post-market. I don't personally trade based on that, so I don't include it in my charts. Days of the week on the label, 12 hours, and then canvas. I just have a black background because I just use dark mode. Grid lines are just super not even there. Grid lines, these ones that would be on the chart. When you change all this, by the way, you don't need to hit OK every time you change something. Just change it all. Crosshairs just so I can see up and down the entire chart or side to side. So that way it's easy to kind of look up and down between all the indicators. This is just your ticker. Okay. So if you want it to be more or less visible, that is up to you. Text color, again, whatever, just this is all visual stuff. So this is all up to you guys. All right. And then I take off the trading stuff because I don't trade directly through here. I just use it for charting. All right. So with that, you should have everything. Okay. Now, make sure you join the community so you can gain access and do the get the indicators and everything and give them a try. So what you're going to do is once you go onto our community and get the indicators, they will be onto your TradingView. All right. And next, what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and go to your invite only list, and they should be all these range ones. Okay. So here's your range wheel, range triggers, range SMI, range momentum. This is weekly. So if you're using a weekly chart, use this one. If you're using a daily chart, use this one. Range MACD and range finder. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and click all so I can just add them. I'm going to do the daily time frame. Weekly is going to be the same exact strategy, just time frame. Okay. Alrighty. So what you're going to want in the order is range finder will be the very top one. So move to visual order. Bring to the front. There, at the very top. Okay. Then you have these three. Okay. Well, I set mine personally up. I move my MACD to the top. So it should be, yep, range MACD up top, range momentum, and SMI. Okay. So the way the strategy works, as you can see, the indicators make it really easy to figure out what zone you're in. Now, when you take a look and you see these labels pop up, that just means, okay, you're in a trimming zone. Just be aware if you see any sort of reversals on any other indicators, you are in a trimming position. You're not in a selling position. Okay. So, for example, the darker the color gets, the more adamant it means. So, this is like if you were to see a reversal happen here, you're going to want to trim very lightly. Okay. Trim a little heavier, and then trim whatever your heaviest trim number is for your portfolio and you managing your position. This would be your heaviest trim number. Okay. Same thing. This chart doesn't show multiple cells, so this is a light cell. Okay. Because you're entering that kind of cell zone. And then these are the medium trims to dark trim. But you're entering this sell zone. Okay. Same thing. Entering a buy zone. We are in a yellow is an add zone. Neon green is the buy zone. Okay. So that's how it works. There's a purple cell. There's a dark red cell. Okay. Light cell, just a regular cell, and sell everything. Okay. And the reason for it, not very often. I don't think I found one. If you would have just waited a little bit longer to wait to get back to an add or buy zone, it would be below the purple. So just give it a second. All right. But purple, for the most part, if you see an indication for the sell all that there's any sort of reversal happening, get rid of it all. Okay. So next thing is we have our momentum. These are all fairly three momentums, but they work very well together. Okay. And the way this works, one, you want to make sure you know what the overall trend is so you can kind of see right here, right? We're overall in a bullish trend. So I'm not trading against the trend. Okay. Now, we went from here to trim, right? And you can see right here, this MACD right here flipped to red, right? We got the little red diamond. It's coded red. It just stays color coded until we get a green and the histogram flips back to positive. Okay. So this just lets you know we're in a downtrend. Short downtrend, but overall we're in an uptrend. All right, so we go ahead, we can get out. We get out somewhere up here. This is what I mean. It told me to trim. Okay, I waited for confirmation right here that we are going down. Sure enough, that could have been your trim sign. And now we've entered into a buy zone. Here's your add. And now if you take a look, we're going to wait. And you got a green diamond on here. Okay, we're in an add buy, green diamond. First is making sure you're in the right zone. We're in an add or a buy zone. And we get confirmation number one, green. Okay, confirmation number two. All right. Now, there's a couple things with this indicator, but you want to wait for this white line to reset below this green bar. Okay, or get very close. But for the most part, like 90% of the time, you're going to wait for this white one to get below there. Are there a few times where it only comes and barely maybe touches it or just misses it? Yes. Okay. There are a few times like that. But for the majority of the time, that white bar is going to get under that line and you're going to wait for that. Okay. So white bar is under that white line. Awesome. Okay. We got the MACD did flip green and this one crossed over. Okay. We got the crossover. So any point between this green MACD and seeing that this white bar is under, okay, that's another confirmation. Because once we flip this and cross over it, it's go time. Okay, same thing, another confirmation here. Okay, we have green bar. Okay, I'm going to put a line down so you can just see where that green bar kind of started for that one. Okay, so we got a green MACD here. There we go. Okay, so if we take a look, you got purple curling, right? Can't cover it, but is there a different pointer? Maybe. Yep. So you got purple curling up right here. Okay, you did have purple curling up. We did have one day where it's kind of like a little drawback, and then we broke through. Okay, so you still, if you waited for right here, you're buying at 42.50. This day, you might be buying at 42.50, 41, 43. So all within probably 50 cents of the initial confirmation that we are going to shift to an uptrend. Okay. And then you basically would have hopped in that trade somewhere in that 42. We bought in at 42.50, right? And now we're back to $50 and we waited, 3 days, 4 days later because all of the confirmations of momentum. Now, there's a few things you can do, okay? There is obviously what you can see is a downtrend here. So you can go ahead and draw a trend line on it. All right. Boom. Downtrend, broke through that downtrend. Okay. But I still want that white line to reset. That is how that works. Okay. Now, let's go to another one. I don't know. Let's go click on the one we got. There's a few that we're looking at, but we can do a few little back tests too. HIMS is a good one. Okay. So you can see the white line here, and actually HIMS shows us a couple. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of them. So we got HIMS. I'm gonna draw a vertical line on this breakthrough right here. Okay. You can see if you look down, purple crossed over the white. The white had reset already. We basically right here looks like a crossover is happening, and we have a green light here. And sure enough, you buy that day at 35s, and I think yesterday we're at 40, today we're at 38.85. Either way, you're up, right? All right, here's another one. I'm just gonna go through all these crosses when the white line reset with a, so here's a green MACD. You can wait a little bit till this crosses over, and you could have bought there. Okay. You have this clearly purple over white crossing up, purple over white crossed over, green MACD. Okay. And I wait for this MACD. I don't look for green MACD flips like this. Okay. See how it was green, then red, then green? Like I'm not buying. Obviously, it's also not in an add or buy zone, but I want the MACD to be flipping on the bottom, just like everything else is flipping on the bottom. I want the bottom to go to the upside. Okay. I don't want this little bit. Okay. So you bought somewhere at the 44, and sure enough, at the high, we were at 65. Okay. Well, here's another one. So you entered a buy zone, but if you look down below, white line hasn't reset. This white line just barely reset, so you got one confirmation. All right. But now we're back in this neutral zone, so I'm not buying. Sure enough, didn't go far. It actually came back down further, and we were able to buy. Okay. Now we have a white line here. And you can see, okay, now there's always going to be a judgment of your own judgment on a stock, right? But if you take a look here, yes, white line cross, purple went up. Sure, MACD is green. If you look up above, I'll just color it. Whatever day that was, there it is. Okay, we crossed over, we flipped. Okay, now as you guys know, March was a little bit of a tariff bombshell to the whole market, right? So if you bought, sure, you bought at 36, but again, you were kind of in a gray area. You weren't totally green. So if you went off that signal, then there's another signal, but this is red, so we're not taking that signal. Okay, and here's the next green opportunity. Okay, MACD flip green. We crossed over. And so, I mean, anywhere in here, which they're all pretty much the same price, so I'll just pick here, I guess. Anyway, they're all pretty much the same price. Any of these days you got confirmation, this crosses over, this is crossed over, this is green, right? So if you bought at 35, sure. If you bought at 27, awesome. We got trim alerts at 60, okay? Now we don't get any reset. Well, here's the time before that you would have bought, okay? I'm trying to look at the back testing for you guys here, okay? There you go. Green MACD in the add or buy zone with the candles. We cross over to the upside after the reset. We crossed over to the upside after this resets down here, right? Boom. And you're in. We don't get any trims. You're in somewhere at the $15 range. You get your first trim at 30, so that's a double up. Okay, and then you get more trims and sells, right? But we still got green momentum. And when do we get out? We get out somewhere in the 50s, okay? And you bought at 15. No wrong problem with that trade. Pick back up at 30.27, trim again at 60s, get back again at 43, get back again at 36, right? That's the strategy, okay? You are looking for these reset moments, okay? And the only thing different is when you do a weekly, you just change the one indicator, okay? And I'll show you the weekly on HIMS. Invite only, range momentum weekly. It's the same indicator, just meant for the weekly time frame. So I can just get rid of the daily. Okay, and let's move this up. And let's go to the weekly time frame. Okay. Weekly time frame is going to have more indicators quickly because obviously 7 days have passed in between each candle. But if we take a look, the last time this reset was down here. Boom. You're in at $6. Okay. And you got a bunch of trims and sells along the way, and we're about to get a reset moment, which is not very often. As you can see, this was back in October 2023. And the reason I don't really use the weekly is just because like I use the weekly to see the overall change in momentum like this, right? This tells me, yep, we're red, we're still red, right? I can get an idea of when like we're slowing down towards like the fall right here, right? We got a week, but I don't use it to trade unless you're really going long term. And obviously, this is a great buying opportunity. 6 to there. We can look at some other ones. ASTS. When's the last time this reset? It was right here in May of 2024. That is 289, right? And then we haven't had a reset since May of 2024. Okay. SoFi, when's the last time we had a reset? July of 2024. Sure enough, it was $6, and we're still going. Okay. So the weekly is definitely some long-term outlooks, um, but I like to actually look at them both on each one to get an idea of how close this is to resetting. Do I have some big like momentum shifting? As you can see right here, kind of momentum has been slowing down, which it has been. It's just been consolidating for SoFi in the meantime. So it just gives me a better idea of long-term where the trend could be going. It doesn't tell me at which velocity it's going to drop, but we are clearly had some trim zones at this level. This buy happened at like 23. That's why it was a big drop that day. Um, but we're at this trim level, and if I keep seeing, momentum shifting down, 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 and we're still sitting here, and we can get to the reset level, and we're still at this level, awesome, right? We're gonna go long again on it. Um, I don't know. We can look at another one here. Iran, obviously, if you got in it. Here's your reset, and you could have got in. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And the second it kind of lost momentum and crossed to the downside, you could have got out. But again, when's the last time it touched right there? That was 261. So it works. Confirmation between all three of those on resetting and crossing over to bullish while we're in an add or buy zone is the strategy. And if you want access, the link is in the description. Go ahead, join the community, and ask your questions. Happy to help you guys figure it all out. Community is completely free. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Hope to see you in the community. Thanks.